Hey guys, it's Danny. As I said, I would make a video about my mom and what happened. Um, so yes, I will go in chronological order. I will try to, cause this is a long story. Um, on March 14th, no, actually 13th, I was going to my doctor's appointment in a few towns over. I was actually 2 hours away, and I had my doctor's appointment, and I called my mom to tell her I was on my way, and my mom told me that she had fallen, and that she, well, no, that's not true. um, I called her, told her that I was on my way, and that had but yes, I was on my way. I can't remember exactly what I told her, but I remember I did tell her I was on my way. So when I got home, she told me that she had fallen, that her foot was asleep, and she had tried to walk, and her foot kind of twisted, and she had fallen over. Nothing more on what had happened. But next thing I know is that my mom was up at 3 o'clock every single night until she was in the hospital. And from that moment to the moment where I put her in the hospital, her her state was fastly, like rapidly degrading. So yeah, so yes, on Friday, I tried waking her up. It took me 3 hours to wake her up fully because she had meds to take, so I had to give her meds. So I also, since I was getting worried, I took her blood pressure and I took her glucose. Her blood pressure was 98 on 75, I think. It was very low. I can't remember exactly the the number, but I will, because I took a picture, I will put the number on to show you her blood pressure, what her blood pressure was. But I had this gut feeling in the back of my head saying, you should bring her to the hospital. This is not okay. There is something going on with her. But I asked her and she said no. So I was like, okay. I trust my mom's gut. She says she's okay. She's okay. She was responsive. She was talking, smiling, laughing, and all that. So the next morning, my boyfriend, well, boyfriend, my fiance came. It was on Saturday. Saturday, we watched My Hero Academia because it shows every Saturday. We watched the episode, and I went back to sleep afterwards. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my roommate came to see me, and he's like, "There's something wrong. Your mom needs to go to the hospital ASAP." So I'm like, okay. So I go to see my mom, and I'm like, "How are you?" And she didn't really respond. So I was like, okay, I need to call the ambulance. So I called, and the ambulance, the people asked me questions, and blah blah blah. And so the ambulance came. They took her pressure, blood pressure. They took her glucose. Everything was fine. I think. I believe it was fine. So, but this her state, her mental state, like her physical state was fine, but her mental state wasn't. So they were like, let's bring her to the hospital. So yes, so they plucked her, and since that she had fallen, they put a neck brace and the boards to keep her straight. And so yeah, so they brought us to the closest hospital, me included, because my mom couldn't respond. So I was the closest person to be able to answer the questions. So first thing she that happened when we got to the hospital, because on our way she was not responsive at all. The EMT, the paramedic, had to say, "Hey, Mrs. Quinn, wake up, stay with us." And while she was asleep, her blood pressure was going down, and her oxygen levels too. So it was very scary. Yes, I so and her blood pressure went down, and her oxygen too. So it was really weird. So when we arrived to the hospital, the ambulance went off behind, because there's the emergency room and there's the consultation rooms, I guess. But she was in the reanimation room, and which was weird. So I didn't know what was happening. It it took 3 hours, I think, for me to get some news about what was happening, for me to be brought in and like saying this. No, not 3 hours, 2 hours, because the doctor had to ask me questions like what was happening, what was her previous health issues, and because all of this was weird. So and she was in apnea, so they had a breathing mask, to keep her oxygen levels stable. So yeah, so they took me out, and they brought her to a uh I think it was an ECG, AKG, no, CAT scan, to see what was going on in her head, and they found out that her brain was extremely swollen, dangerously swollen. And they were like, and when she came back, they brought me in, and that's when they told me that they were going to intube her. And so, if I was explaining that to be intubed, it was to help the body relax and heal what it needs to heal. So it's like, okay, I have to say, seeing someone intubed is one of the scariest things I have ever seen. Ever. Especially seeing my mom being intubed. I'm getting emotional because I'm remembering those things. I had nightmares of seeing my mom that way afterwards. So, yes. So, I was all alone for, I think, 8 hours. I was alone dealing with all of this. And there was this sweet young lady, and I'm like, oh my god, I wish I had asked for her number and keep in touch. But she was so sweet. She was like, hey, everything's okay. You know, she was rubbing my back, giving me hugs, and etc. She was really sweet. And so, because everything was, I was really dealing with everything alone. Alone. No one was there. And I was on the phone. I was calling my aunt, my family. I was like, can someone come? I can't deal with this on my own. If mom passes away and I'm alone, I'm gonna flip my fucking lid. So eventually I was joined by my aunt, which I was thankfully not alone then. And so that day, my mom was put in an bleh, artificial coma for 1 week to help with the swelling. So everything, she was in critical. She was critical. The more that she was in the artificial coma, she was getting more stable and stable. And by the end of the day, where I put her in the hospital, she was in the ICU. And so, yeah, on the 22nd, she was taken out of her coma, and she was confused. And, you know, she was telling me funny stuff, like, she had asked me if I had gone to check to get my brother that weekend. And I was like, no, mom. And without letting me explain why, she was like, oh, that's because you all you think about is sex. And I'm like, it was funny. I've told her and we've laughed about it. I did not take anything of that she said seriously, so but that was funny. So now here we are. I'm gonna say 4 days later. No, 22nd. 6 days later. Jesus. My mom's about to come out. And she's probably coming out tomorrow. And I know that this was a quick story, but this was very, very stressful for me, and it was 3 weeks of pure hell. Pure hell. Because I don't want to lose my mom. Who does? And, you know, the almost losing her made me realize that we have this French song, you know? And it says, La vie est si fragile. And basically, it translates to, life is so fragile. And it is so true. It in a click, in a snap of a finger, someone can just. It's basically Thanos sap and just die. And so I realized that I need to tell people that I love them. And so every time I speak to my mom, I tell her I love her, and that I'm very grateful that I get to tell her every single day, every single chance I get to talk, to speak to her, because she's very important to me. And I'm very grateful that she is still alive today, and albeit a few things like shaking, but those are things that are just minuscule compared to losing her completely. I would take her like how she is now over losing her ever. So I just thought I would do this video, and I hope y'all realize that no, tomorrow's never promised, especially in times like this. You can wake up tomorrow and be sick and end up in the ICU and not live anymore. So I hope you not enjoyed. Well, kind of, because it's a heavy hitting video. I get it, but it's got a quite of a light ending. I hope that you still enjoyed, and I'm very grateful I get to see my mom again and tell her that I love her, because there's someone right there. That's my grandma, and I I don't get to tell her that anymore. So then that was my second mom. So okay, so post editing at Danny here. I forgot to add that my mom is might be doing well still today, but it's still today now, but she they still don't know what happened exactly and why her brain swole, but she went through an encephalogram, which is the something about the swelling of the brain, and they are still waiting on the reason why. So I will update on Twitter. So please please follow me on Twitter. I will follow you back, and stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Bye. So thank you for watching. Stay cheesy. Bye.